Welcome, everyone. I'm here today with Maddie Sinclair, who's the founder of Catch the Sun Communications. Thanks for joining me, Maddie.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'm really looking forward to diving into a little bit of your journey today. So for those who are coming across Maddie for the first time, you have a really strong history in the advertising space, and you've decided to, a few years ago, head out into your own in terms of copywriting, proofreading, and the work that you do in the editing space as well. So I'd love to sort of dive in a little bit because you have a very unique concept with your business. And so I think that's a really good place for us to start because you've worked with some really big brand companies out there, but you work in a way with them that people might not suspect or might not see because it's very much behind the scenes. So could you share a little bit around the business that you run, what you do? And I guess I'd sort of love to hear how you came up with the concept in the first place, because I think it's really interesting.
Sure. So my background, as you said, is in advertising. So I've worked in advertising agencies for about 15 years of my career, and that's in Australia and also the UK. And I was living over in the UK for 17 years and working in the advertising space. I got married, got pregnant, and decided that working as account director in advertising agencies was extremely hectic and probably not the most family friendly of careers that I'd chosen for myself. So basically what I did was, instead of going back, I had my maternity leave, and instead of going back to my full-time agency job, I basically started out freelancing on my own. And so I started doing proofreading, editing, and copywriting as a freelancer. And when I got too much work, I would get some other sort of freelance proofreaders, editors, and copywriters to help me. And one of those was in Australia. And I realised pretty soon that having clients in one location, for example, the UK, and freelancers working in another location, for example, Australia, was really beneficial because you could use the time zone difference between the two countries to sort of optimize, to work while people sleep, basically. So, back at the end of 2016, I moved across to Australia. And that's when Catch the Sun Communications was launched. Basically, we do copywriting, editing, and proofreading for clients, a lot of who are in the UK. And basically they send us work at the end of their working day. We pick it up in the Australian morning, work on it while they sleep, and send it back before they've even had breakfast. So we're basically, like, a lot of our clients are advertising agencies and marketing departments, and they work to really, really tight deadlines, and everything's very sort of high pressured and quite chaotic over there. So what we do is we buy our clients time. So we're giving them this extra peace of mind layer, ensuring that advertising agencies and marketing departments have got high quality editorial content and copywriting content. And we do it, while they sleep. So it's not eating into, it's not pushing their timeline. It's, adding to it. So that's kind of our USP, and that's what we've done for the past 6 years.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's such a really good concept because, I guess many years ago, it was kind of, not as normal as it is now to work as globally and to sort of tap into different time zones and things as well, and have clients all across the world. And so I think, you've really used that to your advantage in terms of the services that you provide. Because like you said, it just keeps that momentum rolling. They're not kind of waiting until, hours and hours and hours and days and days and days for approvals and things as well. And I imagine, with the work that they do with their clients, they can't afford to make mistakes.
Yeah, it works really well, actually. So we I sort of tested the concept a little bit to see if it would work, and it absolutely does work. I mean, that business model is called Follow the Sun, and a lot of people use that, especially in IT. It's quite common to push stuff to different time zones across the world, but we're called Catch the Sun Communications because I thought Follow the Sun was a bit passive, and then I thought, maybe we could do like Chase the Sun, but that sounded a bit more like a bit more chaotic. You've not quite you're always chasing your tail. And then I thought, catch the sun. That's what we do. We catch the sun for our clients, and we harness its power, and we turn that into extra hours that, other copywriting, editing, and proofreading companies in our, like, that are UK based, for example, can't do. Some agencies sort of use us for their sign-off processes, so they sort of outsource the sign-off procedure to us, and we're all qualified expert editorial freelancers, and your account handling team or your project management team can get on with what they're best at doing. So just that extra kind of peace of mind guarantee, and they can hopefully sleep at night knowing that they've handed it over to somebody who knows all the rules, who knows all about consistency, who, we proof everything with a fine-tooth comb and a magnifying glass, and we've got tools to help us as well. So I think it just takes a whole load of kind of potential stress off an agency or a marketing department's plate, and that's what we do.
And I think it's a great journey as well, having yourself sort of having been in that role before, and working at those big advertising agencies. So you have that level of empathy, with your clients, because you've been in those shoes before. And so you understand, the pressures and the stress and everything that they're under. And I think your sort of journey of heading out into the freelancing world first, and then, really sort of establishing the business and establishing a team, as you said, of professional editors from around the world, I think is really awesome. So I'd love to sort of dive into what that experience was like. Either you can talk from just sort of leaving your 9 to 5, corporate, or it wasn't really 9 to 5 in advertising, let's be real. When you're on maternity leave, and that decision to go out on your own, first as a freelancer, and then that decision again to go, okay, well, I actually want to build this bigger than myself. Can you talk me through sort of, what was the motivation there behind doing that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I loved working in advertising industries. It's so much fun. But you've got to give your life to it, basically. I mean, it's probably different now, but back when, before my oldest son's 13 now, so that's 13 years ago. Things are very different now, I think. But back then, it was just either you work full time or you don't work at all. There was very few part-time roles in advertising, and I just wanted flexibility. I thought, this is a big decision for me, having a family, and I want to be able to give it everything. I don't want to be, expected to be doing pitches till 1 a.m. in the morning. For me, it was a bit of a no-brainer, I think, because I've always just said to myself, if I'm not happy in my career, then change it, do something about it. It's not that I wasn't happy. I was absolutely happy working in advertising. I loved it, but it just, it was a juxtaposition between my old life and my new life. And I couldn't, they did it. My agency offered me to work 4 days a week, but for me, that wasn't enough. That I just wanted a bit more flexibility and freedom. So it was a bit of a scary move, going from that to being a freelancer and not knowing where your next job's coming through. But I guess for me, I did it a bit more smoothly because I actually transitioned whilst I was on maternity leave. So I had a bit of money coming in. It wasn't, the financial side of things wasn't quite so shocking. Gave me a year to kind of slowly transition and build things up. So I just always, because I've loved working in advertising so much, I've loved working with everybody that I've worked with. So I was always really good at keeping in touch with them and, following them on LinkedIn and Facebook and all that sort of stuff. So I just managed to build a really good network and of ex-colleagues. And all I really did when I kind of launched my freelance copywriting, editing and proofreading business is just go, contact them. I think I put a post up on Facebook, started a Facebook page, did the same on LinkedIn, just reached out to people saying, this is what I'm doing. If ever your agency or somebody can need some proofreading work done or whatever it might happen to be, then get in touch. And it worked. Just slowly, really organically. Either people I knew directly would contact me and say, oh, can you proofread this annual report, or somebody I know needs a brochure proofread, can you help out? And it was, just word of mouth. And, so it's kind of like social media in the first instance, and then it was word of mouth from there. And apart from that, in the freelance stage, I didn't really do any promotion. It just kind of organically happened through word of mouth. And then, you do one job and you'd make sure that you did an exceptional job, and then you get the repeat business. And so, over sort of 7 years, I slowly built up my business doing that. And then, I guess the whole catch the sun thing kind of came from me feeling a bit guilty about having to tell my UK clients that I was moving to the other side of the world.
Ah, interesting.
And I kind of wanted to, I'm a hugely positive person. I'm definitely glass half full rather than glass half empty. So I was feeling very guilty that I was moving, but actually, because I'd had freelancers in Australia and I knew this time zone difference was actually really beneficial, I kind of told them that, I know I'm moving to the other side of the world, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing. In fact, it's actually a really advantageous thing, because there was one thing that I'd learned from working in advertising and marketing for 15 years, and that was that agencies never send stuff out at the start of the day. It's almost predominantly at the end of the day, because agencies are so busy that they're at meetings all day. They've got to travel to see clients. They've actually doing the work, and it gets to the end of the day, and that's when people start to sit down and actually send stuff, send emails, send brochures out, or or things out to press, that sort of stuff. So I thought nothing ever goes out until the end of the day. That's the key. That's the key insight. So if you guys send it to me at the end of your working day, that's a really good time. I mean, I might be asleep then, but there's not much of an overlap then between the Australian morning, and then you get a whole 8 hours for us to help while you sleep. So I just kind of floated the idea of the time zone difference. And all my clients were really receptive to it. They thought it was a good idea. Basically, I'd sort of turned something that could have been a negative into a positive, and they all said they wanted to continue working with me when I moved. So I just tried it out, and the feedback I've had from clients was, this catch the sun thing works really well. It's great. It's sort of buying us extra time, and also just having that overlap as well. So there's not a huge overlap in terms of being able to do Zoom calls and stuff like that with the UK, but it's enough. And it's sort of, so I think it depends on the season, but sort of 6 p.m. here is 9 a.m. UK time. So I can sort of block out 6 p.m. to like 10 p.m. And if I need to slot a Zoom call in there with a client, then I can. So
then you can make it work. And
a lot of the time I have Zoom calls with people, and I think they have no idea that I'm over the other side of the world, because as long as you can make that Zoom time, they're none the wiser.
That's it. And I think we're also interconnected now as well. And I think I really love how you said, you turned what could have been a really negative thing, and, moving to Australia could have meant like all of your UK clients said, well, that's it. If you're not here and I can't pick up the phone and ring you at the time I need you, then we can't work together. And you had the insight and the foresight, because you've been in the industry and you know how it works, to say, well, hold on a minute, there's actually an opportunity here. And you sort of turn that around, which I think is awesome. So you're able to sort of continue that. And then when it came to, starting to look at the business beyond just yourself, I'd be really curious to see like what that was like for you, because I know there's a lot of people, that I work with, there are independent consultants and coaches and, wanting to really build a team eventually, or maybe not, maybe happy to sort of run the business, on their own. So I'd love to hear for you, like what that decision was like to then, say, I'm going to build this out. I'm really going to build this business with a team underneath me, and maybe some of the challenges that you had along the way in doing that as well.
Yeah, sure. So I ran Catch the Sun maybe for about 5 years, or maybe 4 years from when I moved to Australia, basically on my own. The main reason for that was because I wanted to sort of organically set it up. I didn't want any stress, didn't want any hassle. I've got 2 kids. So back then they were young. It's only now that my son's 13, my daughter's 11, that I can actually leave them for short periods of time, and I can go off to things like
they're
business
teenagers, so you can't leave them too long.
yeah, that's right. But this is the first, like this year and last year is the first time that I've been able to go to business events. And I mean, you know, my husband's around, but he works, you know, he leaves for work early and then comes back late. So if there's a bit of an overlap, I can leave them for short periods of time and go off to business networking events, or I can now make a business breakfast because I can, I can sort of leave them and say, right, you guys get yourselves off to school. I'm off. I'll see you in the afternoon, you know, that sort of thing. So it was really important to me that I didn't interrupt their childhood just until we had a bit more flexibility in our lives. I didn't want to build or grow the business. But now we've got to the point where, you know, it's time and I can start to grow. So we've now got Claire is our operations and workflow manager, and Claire and I used to work together at an ad agency in London.
Yeah.
And she actually had a similar path that I did in terms of used to work in advertising. And then she went out into freelance proofreading. And she was the freelancer who, when she moved back to Australia, I used to send her my overflow work. And that's how I realized that the time zone difference worked well. So Claire's come on board, but she's still, you know, part-time, because one of our another of our values is flexibility and flexible working. So, you know, all of our freelancers dictate their own hours and their own days, and they have the ability to say yes or no to a job. So, you know, flexibility is really, really important. And so Claire does part-time, but she helps me grow the business. So she's a kind of constant employee, whereas everybody else are freelancers that we use. So I just kind of sort of slowly grew the company, and then the last couple of years I've started to outsource things a little bit more. So that's one of the things that we've worked on, Amy, is the whole, you know, getting a VA, you know, starting to outsource things, and that's really made things kind of happen in quickly, basically. You know, I've outsourced our social media using a VA. I've got a couple of bookkeepers who help, who are Australia based, but we do things virtually. What else? SEO I've outsourced as well. So this has all happened since I've been working with you, Amy. So you know, that module, which is all about outsourcing, is you know, really helpful, and just the different way, you know, different places you can go to find those people. So that's great, because up until then I was doing everything myself, and that you just can't do that. And in a sense, that's why everything was a bit slow before then. But, you know, I knew it was not the right time, but now's the right time. So now I've pressed go on that. We've kind of expanded not only our sort of people who help us grow the business, but also our freelancers. So that's predominantly one of Claire's jobs, is reaching out to new copywriters, editors and proofreaders, and helping to build our freelance database so that we can, when a client project comes in that it's of a particular type, we not only have we worked with a big bank of freelancers and we know what their strengths and weaknesses are, but we've also got a database of freelancers who, you know, if somebody comes and says, like a government department, for example, comes and says, we need 2 technical writers to help us on this project, then we can have a look in our database and we can, you know, do a search on technical writers, and we can just sort of pick the exact, precise, correct freelancers for the job. Whereas if we were an agency, we would kind of have employees who are copywriters, and no matter what their experience or the past industries that they've worked in, we just have to say, right, no, this is our copywriter. That's you get this person. So, you know, I think it gives freedom and flexibility for our clients, and it means that they, you know, get a really high quality result, because our freelancers, we only pick those freelancers who are very qualified in those areas to do that particular project. So
yeah, I think it's awesome because it, allows the business to scale, and it allows the business to grow. And like you said, you've been very intentional all the way along, to grow the business in increments. And then I think it's your experience is like many others, right? Where it gets to this certain inflection point in the business where it's just you and there's one of you and there's only so much time in a day. And then if people, your referrals start to build and your social media starts to build, and then all of a sudden you're bringing on new clients a lot faster and a lot quicker than you were before, then it's like, okay, well, how am I going to service all of these clients? How am I going to get new clients? And so it becomes, really necessary to get the right people in place. And like you said, once you've got that kind of freedom and flexibility with the team, then you're able to sort of make those decisions to pick and choose the clients you want to bring on, based on the team too. And I'd be interested to hear your experience, Maddie. I know many people sort of go through it where when you're used to doing everything yourself, sometimes for some business owners, it's hard to let go and it's hard to sort of trust others in the team. And I think for many people in the coaching consulting space or in the service providing space like you're in as well, it can be quite difficult to find those right people and to feel like you can continually support them with the work that you're bringing on as well. So I'd just love to hear some of your experiences that you've had, having come out the other side. Now you have a really great team around you. What has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. And the one thing that you always say, Amy, that really resonated with me is slow down to speed up. That whole concept, really resonated with me because there will be a time when things are quite slow and, you're training everybody up and it takes a lot of your time as a founder to sort of be patient and explain these things. And, but then the eventually you will speed up. So when your profit will take a bit of a hit too, because if I'm spending my hours on unbillable work, I can't bill that out. So, that's obviously means that my business profit is going to take a hit. And also the more people that you hire to help you with unbillable hours, which is like growing the business, then your profit's going to take a little bit of a hit with that. But the idea is, just like the slow down to speed up thing, that can also be applied to your profit. So, okay, you might have to take a bit of a hit. You might your profit slows down, but you're investing, really. That's what you're doing. You're investing in your business, which will then mean that more people want your services and your profit then goes a little bit higher. But look, it's all, I did find that quite hard because I'm used to doing everything myself, and I'm like the first to admit I'm a perfectionist, which, makes me a very good proofreader and editor.
Of course,
but sometimes it doesn't make for a good founder because sometimes you've just got to say that's good enough. That's something I struggle with every day also because our USP is all about being super high quality and that's kind of hard for me to say, oh, that's good enough. But I'm working on that.
And I think on some level every business owner goes through their own journey with that, but I love what you said around the slowing down to speed up is exactly right, because business is not just this consistent thing all of the time. You have the ebbs and flows, and sometimes it means having those periods of time where you're building lots of things behind the scenes where not many other people on the outside would even see or know about. But it means that, you can take on bigger clients, you can charge more for your services and all of these sorts of things that start to happen as a result, which then, allows you to have this nice little, the hockey stick growth that we love to see in business as well. So I think that's awesome that, that's been what you've experienced. And I know you've landed some new clients and things as well as a result. So how's that been, working with the team and starting to take on some more clients and bigger work?
Yeah, it's really exciting because, the bigger clients are sort of bigger brands. And if you have bigger brands, you can put the logos on your website and you can start to talk about them in social media. And all of a sudden people say, ooh, that's a good one. And they start to take you more seriously. So, look, that's really exciting. Really exciting for us. We've kind of, whereas when I moved across, 100% of our clients were UK based, and we've actually started to, we've got some really good Australian clients now too, to sort of even it up, which is great. And we found that was really necessary over COVID because so many of the marketing budgets and marketing projects in the UK were just frozen overnight. And that was a little bit scary. But, we've sort of said, okay, that's fine. We need to kind of focus on getting Australian clients, because over COVID, Australia wasn't hit as nearly as badly as the UK, for example. So, things like marketing budgets didn't necessarily freeze over here. So that's just one of the things we did. Now we've got a nice balance between UK clients and Australian clients. I think I'm going over to the UK in May, and, really excited about sort of trying to get some more UK clients, because while I find, being based in Australia and now being able to go to lots of networking events and word of mouth and really helps us, and, connections and, contacts. It's really easy for me to do that in Australia almost without trying, but it takes more of an effort with the UK, because obviously I'm not located there. So, look, we're really looking forward for me going over there, and also to sort of using LinkedIn to build some contacts in advance and, organise some meetings and all that sort of stuff. So, it's exciting to think that, that's what we'd like, some more UK clients, basically, and more UK agency clients. Because I think that we can really, they're the people that we can really offer value to. It's all very exciting. I like the new business side of things. So,
it's a really exciting time. And I think it's really cool to see you make that transition as well, from just relying on the word of mouth of your network that of people in person or people that you've worked with before. And then, it comes a time in every business where that's not enough, to hit your growth targets and what you're looking to do. And so it takes things like getting on LinkedIn and things like starting to share a little bit more around your brand online, and being a little bit maybe uncomfortable in that space to begin with, to attract those new clients that have never heard of you and don't know anything about you. So what was that kind of experience like? Because I remember when we first started talking, Maddie, that was one of the things that you were looking to really do. So I'd love to hear just, from some of the things that, we've worked on with you, what sort of made the biggest impact for you in the business so far, do you think?
I think it's just that we've really ramped up our social media. So up until I outsourced to the VAs, it was just me being a bit sporadic, and there was no real planning, or I sort of was doing strategy in my head, but none of it was written down, and it was just me kind of finding 5 minutes here and there to sort of, to be able to post stuff. So I guess the main difference for us has been being a bit more strategic and organised and regular with our social media. And, we've got now brand templates that we use. So it's sort of elevated our whole brand from a content perspective, from a design perspective. I think people start to take you more seriously when you're consistent with your brand and your message. And, we've kind of, we've decided upon our swim lanes, for example. And I had all those swim lanes in my head, but we're now, I've sort of explained those swim lanes to the team, and the team's looking at, we've got a calendar, social media calendar that kind of, we swap the swim lanes round, and we add in, we sort of highlight our freelancers as well. And we've got all these different sort of themed posts that we do. And I'm still being sporadic as well. So, we've kind of got our planned level, and then we've got a level where I just see something that's really interesting and we'll just post it on LinkedIn mainly. So LinkedIn is the main one that we're using, because that's where our customers are. So, it's a really strong B2B tool. And, Facebook, while there's an element of Facebook, which I think is helpful in the fact that it's people, Facebook is people that you actually know in person. And that's been good for me, because I've made sure I've kept in touch with a lot of people that I know on both sides of the planet. But, but it's only one layer. So it's only the people that you know. And then, you can get some recommendations from them by them recommending you to people that they know, but it's still on a very personal level. Whereas LinkedIn, the fact that it's formal and businesslike, and, it's multi-layer. So it's not just the people that I know personally, but it's, it goes well beyond that. So that's been a good tool for us up till now, and we have hardly even scratched the surface, to be honest, because we've been so busy. I think we've had a lot of fingers in a lot of pies.
Yeah, totally.
But we've got a lot of plans of how to optimize LinkedIn even more. I can see that it's a really exceptional tool for getting new business, and it's where people in advertising and marketing live, basically. So I'm really excited to sort of see what we can do with that.
Yeah, I really love how you've gone from, just the sporadic kind of spontaneous posting, which we all do, right? And then it's, we get busy, and then it's easy to forget and all of those sorts of things. And it's always sort of you in the beginning, right? And then, but it doesn't have to be you forever. So I think, one thing I've really loved about your journey is, going from you having to think about it and you having to do it to now having a team in place who, they're empowered, and they represent the brand in the right way. And, like you said, perfection and quality and everything is like really important, because that's a reflection for your clients of the work that you're going to produce for them. So I really love how it's sort of you in the beginning, but you've made that transition to create that ongoing system so that you can focus on what you need to do as the founder and the owner of the business. So I love that.
Yeah, it's been really great. Like I've actually loved giving it over to other people. So I've in the past, I guess I've always sort of kept things close to my chest, but I've really enjoyed being able to build this team that's just running in the background without me even sort of having to kind of put too much input. It's them coming up with the ideas, and it's just it kind of makes you feel free not having to do that anymore.
Totally.
So I really love that. It's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know, you've been in business for many years now, and this is not your first rodeo, and you've worked with plenty of mentors and coaches and other programs and things in that time. And I just sort of love to hear from you, because obviously I love my team and what we do with our clients. So obviously I'm going to say how great we are, but I'd love to just sort of hear from you, like if there's people that are listening to this and they're really sort of unsure about, either taking that next step to start building their team, and, be that person that can now sort of step into that founder or that business owner role. And then the part B to that is, if they're considering working with us and they might be on the fence about it, I'd love to hear your advice of, having gone through that journey and come out the other side. What are some insights that you've learned along the way?
I guess the main point is that there's never a good time to do these things. You can always come up with excuses. You've always got too much on. I guess, starting your own business and being a founder, like just do it. If you're lucky enough to have some sort of crossover period like I did, where you kind of maybe you do it on the side a little bit before you quit your full-time job, or, maybe you use maternity leave as a bit of a buffer, because you're having some money come in while you're kind of building things in the background. But, just do it. I mean, I absolutely love the freedom and flexibility that comes with being a founder and business owner. So, from that perspective, there's never a good time. Just do it. And the same thing with working with you. So there's never a good time really to do these. I mean, I was super, super, super busy and had my fingers in so many pies that I'm like, how am I going to fit in some sort of training as well? But I guess when you commit to these things, it then forces you to do things. So things that you might put off otherwise and say, oh, that's on my to-do list, but, it's not urgent now. And I think sometimes committing to these sorts of courses or training or mentoring, you do it because you're involved in the program, and it's kind of like, this is homework. So you just do it, even though if you weren't doing the program would just remain on your to-do list. So that's how I've sort of dealt with the program. It's been really good to just kind of get out there and do things. And whether some of the things I haven't had time to actually do properly, but I've learnt enough now to know when I do go to do it, this is what I need to do. And that's really handy, for me to just have the back here. So, you know, for example, we are sort of reaching out to some people on LinkedIn that I've worked with in the past, for example, and connecting with them. And I might not be ready for like the 3 stages down the road for that, which is kind of reaching out to completely new people. That's just because it's a bit of a linear process, and I'm not ready to do that yet. But when I am ready to do that, I'll know what to do. So it's giving you a kind of tools, a whole sort of tools in your toolkit that whether you use them now or whether you use them 3 months down the track or a year down the track, it doesn't really matter. You know what you need to do, and it just makes you feel more confident that when you do have to do those things, you'll get it right.
Yeah, I love that. And we've obviously loved seeing your progress and your growth as well. And it brings me great joy to hear you say things like, the team are just running without me. And I didn't even have to think about that. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, we're sped up now.
Because I remember our first conversation where it was like fighting fires and wearing all the hats and doing everything. So, you know, just to see you coming out the other side and, you know, having those skills that you now have, like you said, for, you know, being able to implement without the overwhelm for years to come in the business is really, really cool to see. So, yeah that's awesome to hear.
Excellent.
Great. So for people listening to this who might be even looking at thinking, well, they're, you know, working in the advertising space or marketing and they need some really good proofreaders and editors on their side, where can they go and find you, Maddie, and to find out more? So
they can find us at www.catchthesuncomms.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn, Maddie Sinclair.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you mentioned LinkedIn. It was a trick question.
Or we've even got a business page on LinkedIn, so Catch the Sun Communications. So we kind of work that pretty hard too. Yeah,
beautiful. Well, it's been awesome to hear your journey, Maddie, and I really appreciate you just being so transparent and sharing, you know, the growth that you've had in the business and the different stages along the way. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, in another 2 years, 3 years time where the Catch the Sun is, because I know this is just really the start for you. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
True. No worries. Exciting stuff. Thank you.